If you listen to Carly Rae Jepsen, then it's always a good time. And if you don't, call me. Maybe. The default that I would compare this music to is herself. Like, we can't really go wrong here. That feels like a haunting angel is singing the entire time. I have not listened to Carly Rae Jepsen in a very long time. I loved the drums. I loved the harmonies and the vocals and the high pitching. It was just very jazzy, fun, eclectic. And I do feel like it's a good track to open up the album just because it's so chill yet engaging. It's not completely over the top where it is grabbing your attention, but I feel like it is setting somewhat of a tone that we're a little bit more relaxed. We're maybe feeling cushy in that love, and we're exploring all of the softness within that. Normally it takes me until 5-6 songs in the project to kind of get a gauge of where it's gonna go, but that was unexpected and I like that.
I saw you in the deep end, a shipwreck on the water, and I know I shouldn't want that. I fall back into the feeling.
Now we have this 80s synth pop romantic dance track. Completely unexpected from the first one too. I think I was getting more of a laid back indie folk vibe before, and now we're shifting into something that sounds a little bit more like Carly. The chorus is very strong. It hits, that bass comes in, it gets you very excited. I still don't think it's gripping me as much as the first one, but I do have a lot of curiosity to see where this could go. It's interesting listening to someone who has made so much strong pop music make another project where I feel like the default that I would compare this music to is herself. Like, we can't really go wrong here. So many things just happened. The first thing that I'm hearing is so many elements of, like, baby elements of hyperpop coming in. That beat makes me think about jungle sounds, and I feel like I've heard a lot of jungle lately in mainstream music. It's kind of becoming like a rise. I feel like this is the perfect example of someone staying in their genre but still experimenting with different parts of pop to create a newer sound. That is the second song that I've heard in a minute that's been very surprising to me from the artist and also as a song itself. It's definitely something that I could see Pink Pantheress doing, or maybe even like a little bit of Grimes. Like, it does have a lot of whimsy and eccentricity and that sweet calmness going on throughout. That feels like a haunting angel is singing the entire time. Very unexpected and very different from the first two songs as well. I feel like had this come after the first song, it would feel more cohesive, but that song in the middle was just such an interesting departure that I'm curious to see what else might happen going forward.
I want you to be the one for me, you know. I would fly aeroplanes in motion for your touch.
Very jazzy, very psychedelic. There were so many small musical embellishments that carried me along the way with that song. And I love the romantic wistfulness. I do feel like it's fitting in succession with track 1 and 3. Track 2 is still wiggling out there a little bit, going, who am I and how do I belong here? So I'm curious about what else we're going to hear going forward that might make sense at the end. I like the softness. I like the experimental elements of this as well.
I want to give you everything you want, babe. Did you ever dream of us? Wanna look in your eyes and it's not me.
I feel like the majority of what I've heard was when she first came on the scene. So I don't know if it's usual that the project is this experimental, but I like that we're just playing around in different genres, trying to build somewhat of a cohesive theme and talk about this lovelessness or love that we feel in our lives. I want the envelope to be pushed just a little bit further. It did help me realize, though, what is missing for me in this project.
How come everybody's dancing but you? Put you on the list to come downtown if you're around. I hope you do.
Very funky. I feel like the high vocals allow you to kind of just melt into this song as well. And you can do your own little two-step or dance to it. Like, it definitely feels like it allows you to have some more robotic movements or even like group movements as you're listening to it. I felt my body definitely loosening up. Energy-wise, with Aeroplanes and Shy Boy, we're definitely coming down, where Kamikaze was pretty up there. After Last Night, I felt it was in the middle, but it still had a lot of elements to like reach a higher capacity. And Anything to Be With You was like the first slower jam that we had, but I'm not sure where this roller coaster of my own energy should be as I'm listening to this. I do, however, appreciate how much psychedelic elements there are on this project. I love anything that feels like I'm supposed to fade into it as well. And I hopefully want to see this project continue to evolve all the way to the end. I want more tracks like After Last Night and Anything to Be With You, where we're either going to get the more kind of a traditional depiction of it, or we're going to get something that is so experimental and frayed in moments that it captures our senses and has us having either a new view of Carly Rae Jepsen or understanding this project in a different light and in a different time than just traditional pop music. Even though I don't even feel like this album is that pop leaning, I definitely do think that it is popular. She's a popular artist. This song is very beautiful. The production is beautiful. The vocals are beautiful. For me, what it's missing is soul.
Nothing really matters, but it matters if it matters to you. Give it all some time. Paralyzed devotion.
I feel like when you make a project that is this psychedelic, or when you make a project that typically people are screaming on to the point that they are hoarse, you need to put that emphasis in the vocals. And I feel like for a vibe, it's vibey. Like, you could drive to this, you could listen to this when you're trying to decompress. Like, there's so many positive elements about this song, but I want the envelope to be pushed just a little bit further.
Did I do it to myself? It's hard to know for sure.
I want to hear the pain in your voice. I want to hear the emotions as you're going through them. I want to feel that despair with you and then have to fall on the beat in order to support myself. And it's unfortunate because I think making comparisons sometimes between artists is hard because different lives, different points in your career, different interests that you have. You can't always compare in a way that is like foundational or even helpful in some circumstances. But I do keep thinking about that Jessie Ware album and how she was just eating every single sound. Like there was nothing left to be wanted after that. She really went through every single phase of those transitions, brought out that energy, put it on the track. With something this psychedelic, I want to feel this distraught if the lyrics are making me feel haunted about things that I have done to myself. My interpretation of where I see this project having lower energy is that it is experimental in some regards. There's a lot of psychedelic and funk elements on this. Sometimes the songs start like this one, and it feels like I'm gonna get a little like indie rock song, which I appreciate. I like the variation. But the moments where it is being experimental and trying to open itself up to more genres and such, it is taking an influence from, I feel like, the past decade instead of thinking forward to what new sounds could be. So it feels a little scared to go further into some sort of unknown.
I think about you almost every day. There's not a place that you don't go.
And I feel like with pop girlies, you want to make something that will be played a lot, that the people will love, that you also appreciate and have interest in. But I feel like there's also some desire to be curious about what people will be listening to 10 years from now that might become the new version of pop. I don't even mean new genres or established genres taking the place of being what's popular music, but as we've seen with regular pop music, hyper pop music, dance pop music, there's so many avenues that we're going into. And so I would be more curious to know how this is projected in the future. Either way, Shadow made me think about the ocean. It made me think about dolphins coming out of that ocean. It was very idyllic and relaxing.
It's like I'm waking up in a euphoria. My insecurity.
This song is very strong. I love any track that sounds like it's about to be a Bob Sinclair song. Anything that sounds like it would play on the radio or there's a live DJ, I'm gonna like it. It did help me realize, though, what is missing for me in this project, which is just ad-libs.
Meditating on your lips. 'Cause baby, I'm in paradise. I never met anybody like you.
With disco, there's always ad-libs of people having a dialogue or wailing or sighing or gasping, and I feel like it allows me to buy into the scene more. Even with just having like a chorus of people singing in the background, I think it helps the music embody that community element of disco, of dancing, of having many voices in the room.
I'm on the wildest trip in this. It's like a psychedelic switch. It's like a psychedelic switch.
It's like right at the edge, but just not there for me. But I think it is helpful because you never know how these songs live inside of you. I know there's definitely a couple tracks on this album that I'm gonna keep and listen to a lot, but this is curious. I was curious about this. I've seen her perform live too, and I really liked the live performance. Even for not knowing a lot of songs, I felt like it was just so strong. So I wonder how this would actually come across in a concert venue. If anyone's seen her perform this album yet, please let me know in the comments. If this played on a radio, I would be like, is this Carly Rae Jepsen? If it had been released on a project on its own just like that, it probably wouldn't have done as well.
Do you really think this is a good idea?
I mean, no, probably not, but
I don't blame you for your hesitation. Will we only make each other?
This felt like more of a continuation of Kamikaze, but still had some psychedelic elements that kept it in a lower energy. I do like the harmonizing here. I like that we started with a little phone call here. Like, it definitely put me into the world more, and I felt very immersed by the sounds that she put in this song.
I was wrong. I'm certain to it. Did I
Something that I'm also missing a little bit is just some non-linear song structures and also just transitions in general. I don't feel like we're cascading through this as smoothly, and with a song that is psychedelic, that feels like disco, I would like to imagine that I could play it on a record, which means that I want things to flow as smoothly as possible.
Sometimes we get it so right. We can get it.
I did think this was definitely one of the stronger ones though. I think it was definitely a vocally stronger performance for her, and I think it was one of the first songs that played where I was immediately like, if this played on a radio, I would be like, is this Carly Rae Jepsen?
Close my eyes, I see you got it. I feel butterflies. Got nothing on my mind but the two of us. Come over.
I feel like it all fits in the theme of a bright sunny day, kind of having an obsession with someone, wanting to reassert that love and that connection, and like everything is happy, sunshine, rainbows, smiling, that whole thing.
You feel right into place. 'Cause you do something to my
It feels a little random in the lineup. Like, I think it feels more traditional pop leaning, which is surprising, but I do think that it's important for her to have a couple of those tracks out there just to see how far they sail.
Just fine. You waste my time. Wanna see it tonight. Come over, and don't keep me waiting. Got nothing on my mind.
It reminds me of the stuff I heard on Charlie XCX's Crash a little bit. A little bit of that Doja Cat SZA song, Kiss Me More, as well.
Like a faded magazine. The ones I loved and left behind.
The lyrics were beautiful and haunting, and I feel like it asserts to me that there's one side of this project that is psychedelic, that has some like 80s synth in there, and there's another side of this project that is way more experimental, that has a little bit more soul in it, focuses a little bit more on the drums, and I feel like if it had been released on a project on its own just like that, it probably wouldn't have done as well with her fan base, and I think with also what's popular, it would have been a little too unexpected and maybe even a little too moody.
Moon won't let me sleep. Put it to rest so the rest won't follow me. Put it to rest so the rest.
It was just so beautiful, and it felt like you could sit there and be held by it and comforted by it and not expect to give too much back to it.
When I wake up in the morning in the emptiest of empty rooms.
That smaller project that I'm talking about would have been the tracks Anything to Be With You, After Last Night, Shadow, and Put It to Rest. Those four feel so cohesive.
Am I the only one who's insatiable? Waiting for someone who's untouchable.
I like that the beat is odd. It feels like a spicy drone. It has this anthemic quality that definitely captures your ear and makes you feel kind of like you're sailing along with it. I don't feel like the vocals match that energy as much. Like at some point, I just want to hear some yelling. I want one big, loud note. I want some belting. And I feel like with the stadium love, like I want to hear the stadium. I want to hear you feeling the stadium as well. Like that beat is perfect for it because it sounds like any sort of alarm system that you would have that would go off that could still feel melodic and non-threatening. But I want the energy in the vocals as well. I want to feel like whatever lyrics I am singing back have that same energy and aliveness. Now we're moving on to our last track. This album has been somewhat all over the place for me, but I'm recognizing the themes and I feel like there is a little bit of experimental vibes in here, but they're not pushing it further enough for me to feel like we've made a lot of progress or discovered something completely new. So let's hear what this last song is and then wrap it all up.
We got
This song felt as disjointed as I feel like this project did, where we're playing around with things we're not exactly sure. And it's cool to be in that creative space in general, but to live in that for the duration of an album can sometimes feel difficult. I do think that she is discovering something when it comes to how she wants to be in these sounds. And I like that this album was a little bit more funky, psychedelic, smaller elements of jazz, emphasis on the drums. Please let me know in the comments which songs you enjoy, how they made you feel, how you feel like this even connects to her previous work. But that's all that I have for you today. I hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are. And if you made it to this point in the video, I appreciate you so much. And I will see you in the next one.